Tonight, savagery in the streets of Iraq. 10 Americans die in a single day. 4 of them civilians, murdered, mutilated, and dragged through the streets. Who is behind this? What drives American civilians to risk death in Iraq? In this economy, it may be for some the only job they can find. This family paid the ultimate price. Outsourcing an American icon, the little red wagon, now made in China. We'll give you the inside story. And the revival of 2004. What's pushing the new popularity of Christian-themed books and movies?
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. This was a day, as the spokesman for President Bush put it, of horrific attacks on Americans in Iraq. 10 Americans were killed and 21 wounded in one of the costliest days of the ongoing war. Most of the deaths came in 2 incidents in and near Fallujah, west of Baghdad. 5 U.S. Army 1st Infantry troops killed by a bomb, and 4 civilians murdered and then further savaged by a mob. The American civilian deaths and events that followed were especially gruesome. So I must emphasize that some pictures in this report are not for children's eyes. Some of it, after careful thought and trying to be responsible as well as sensitive, we have electronically blurred. As CBS's Kimberly Dozier reports, today's events echo another horrible attack on Americans in a previous battle against terror.
A nightmare Americans hoped they'd left behind in another war. Graphic and disturbing images so horrid, we chose not to show you the complete picture. The bodies of 4 Americans shot, burned, and mutilated by an angry mob, then dragged through the streets and strung up from a bridge for all to see in the guerrilla stronghold of Fallujah. It was a chilling echo of Somalia in 1993, when a mob hauled the body of an American soldier through Mogadishu, prompting U.S. troops to withdraw. Witnesses say today's victims were first attacked by gunmen with small arms fire and rocket-propelled grenades. Then the crowd formed, dancing and singing over the bodies and chanting, "Fallujah is a cemetery for Americans." U.S. officials insist Iraqis who despise the coalition are in the minority.
They're desperate to try to hold out, desperate to try to turn back the hands of time, and that just isn't going to happen.
At least some of the victims work for North Carolina-based Blackwater, the main firm providing security for the U.S. coalition. Private companies are taking more responsibility for security of U.S. bases and convoys to free troops for combat missions. U.S. forces also took heavy casualties in the Fallujah area today. 5 soldiers were killed when their vehicle drove over a large roadside bomb.
Orient that way!
Marines had just taken control of the area from the departing 82nd Airborne. Late this afternoon, they threw a cordon around the town, guarding against further attacks.
We consider that a lot of our enemies are cowards in how they employ their tactics.
Other enemies of the coalition took to the streets of Baghdad today using different tactics. A violent demonstration aimed at driving the American occupiers out.
These demonstrators say instead of building the kind of country they want, the Americans are imposing their interests and ideals and trying to silence anyone who disagrees.
U.S. officials argue that's what their enemies are trying to do, stir hatred against the U.S. coalition and brutally silence anyone trying to build a new Iraq. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Baghdad.
The 10th American killed today in Iraq was a soldier who died in an accident. That pushes the total number of U.S. troops killed since the start of the war to at least 597, along with dozens of American civilians. Given such risks, it may be hard to see why any civilian would agree to work in Iraq. But as CBS's Bob McNamara reports, among other reasons, the long job slump has left many Americans desperate enough to risk everything for a decent paycheck.
The line is hundreds long. Job hunters in Houston applying for work as cooks, truck drivers, and construction workers in the chaos of Iraq.
I'm not afraid. Some of these days I have to go anyway.
They're warned the work demands long days and little time off.
It will be living in Hades. Daily air temperature, ambient air temperature can be 125, 135 degrees.
Still, the Texas unemployment rate is higher than it is nationwide. And lured by potential tax-free six-figure incomes, some hadn't even told families they were here.
I don't think they would mind, for the simple fact is that, you know, to me, it's not that many jobs here now.
But 1,000 miles from Houston and a world apart from Iraq, here in Middletown, Delaware, one family learned ever so tragically where the desperation for work can lead when the job is in the middle of a war.
He said, I'm made of steel. I went through Vietnam. I can do this too.
58-year-old Art Linderman was ambushed by Iraqi insurgents at the wheel of his supply truck. So critically wounded, he was on life support before dying in late January. Was he for this war?
No, I don't think he was.
He was over there to make a living.
He was over there to make a living. That's all there was to it.
Art Linderman had been out of steady work for over 2 years. In Iraq, he wore a helmet, flak jacket, and carried a gun. Any brushes with danger he did have, he never let on to his family.
You can just basically hear it in his voice that, you know, things weren't good.
Researchers tracking Iraq's rebuilding estimate at least 30 civilian contract workers have been killed since major hostilities were declared over last May.
It's not worth it in the long run.
Money's not everything.
No.
Art Linderman risked his life for a financial nest egg he and his wife could retire on.
Sometimes I feel like the phone's going to ring and it'll be him, or he'll come walking through the door.
And tonight, 4 more Americans also won't be coming home. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Middletown, Delaware.
You may want to note that there is an ongoing debate within some ranks of the U.S. military as to whether there are enough American troops on the ground, whether the force strength is enough in Iraq. Some U.S. reinforcements began arriving today in Afghanistan. 2,000 Marines of the 22nd Expeditionary Force will join the hunt for al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Also today, at a meeting in Germany, the U.S. and other nations promised billions in new aid for Afghanistan. But as CBS's Randall Pinkston reports, the Afghans are pleading for more.
U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell arrived at the Berlin Donors Conference with a renewed promise and more than $1 billion additional for Afghanistan. 2 years after the overthrow of the Taliban, Afghanistan's President Karzai faces continued resistance from warlords and a huge drug production problem.
Drugs in Afghanistan are undermining the very existence of the Afghan state.
President Karzai wants $28 billion in aid, some to combat the opium poppy harvest, which accounts for half of the nation's cash crops. The president also needs more money to build a national army, to root out the warlords and their private militias, and to build the institutions that will unite this ethnically divided nation for the first time. Critics of the U.S.-led coalition say much of the money that should have gone to Afghanistan was instead diverted to the war in Iraq. And if things don't change, this nation could revert to the kind of failed state that made it a training ground for terrorists. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Kabul, Afghanistan.
North of Afghanistan today, there was more violence and confusion in Uzbekistan, a Muslim nation and a U.S. ally in the war on terror. Police stopped cars in the capital after the government said a lone militant ended a standoff by blowing himself up. Other unconfirmed reports claimed several violent Islamic radicals were involved. Since Sunday, bombings and gun battles have killed more than 40 people, mostly in and around Tashkent, the capital. Back in this country, it now appears that President Bush's National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Rice, will testify to the Independent Commission on 9/11 next week. CBS's Chief White House correspondent, John Roberts, has more about this and on how much of the panel's final report the public will actually ever get to see. John, what about it?
Dan, sources say the National Security Advisor will mount an aggressive counterattack to what one 9/11 commissioner called the Molotov cocktail thrown by Richard Clarke before the commission last week. The White House is anxious to get the final word on this controversy, already suggesting that Clarke and his contradictions are yesterday's news. But Rice's will hardly be the last word. The CIA is coming back for more public testimony next month, as is the FBI. And there are new questions tonight about President Bush's demand that his appearance before the commission be jointly with the vice president, which critics say violates the first rule of investigations, which is to question your witnesses separately. It's also unclear how much the public will eventually learn. As it did with the congressional 9/11 inquiry, the White House will clear the final document. Despite 6 months of congressional objections, this report was heavily redacted. And because the commission is disbanded in August, the White House may have a much freer hand in vetting its final report. Dan?
John Roberts reporting live from the White House. Thanks, John. The U.S. Defense Department has announced a major arms sale to Taiwan, which will pay nearly $2 billion for long-range radar equipment. This new hardware will improve Taiwan's ability to detect missiles and aircraft coming from China, and that is nearly certain to anger China's communist leaders. As was widely expected, the Arab and Iranian-led OPEC oil cartel announced today it will cut production of crude oil by 1 million barrels a day, or about 4%, starting tomorrow. Cutting the supply of oil is likely to push crude prices over $40 a barrel and boost the cost of gasoline, already at record levels in this country, even higher, perhaps much higher. On Wall Street, the Dow lost 24 points today, the NASDAQ about 6. Celebrity homemaker Martha Stewart is seeking a new trial. Her attorneys say one of the jurors who convicted her in the stock sale case lied about his own previous arrest record, including an assault charge. It remains to be seen whether this will or will not affect Stewart's conviction of the crimes of obstructing justice, conspiracy, and making false statements. Coming up on the CBS Evening News, outsourcing an American legend. The red radio flyer wagons will now roll off a foreign assembly line. How did it happen, and what does it tell us about our economy? We'll give you the inside story. And then later, what does it mean to be a liberal? And why did Democrats let self-described conservative Republicans define it for them? Stay here with us.
I can't go there because I won't move or whatever.
Roundup knocks out weeds in 24 hours. The leading imitator doesn't. Roundup Fast Act Foam knocks out weeds in 24 hours.
Oh, hey, hi, I'm Digger. Don't mind me, I'm just a dermatophyte. You know, a nail infection. All I want is to get in here and live under your nail. You can't get me with clippers or those surface treatments you try on your own. I'm in too deep in your nail bed. I'll make myself comfortable, invite a few friends. Settle in.
Do you have thick, discolored, or flaky nails? Millions of people do. It may be caused by an active live infection. That's why you should ask your doctor about prescription-only Lamisil. Unlike surface treatments, Lamisil is a pill that works through the bloodstream to target and attack the infection at its source, underneath the nail. In fact, you can start to see clearer, healthier nails in just 3 months. Lamisil isn't for people with liver or kidney problems. In rare cases, serious side effects in the liver or serious skin reactions have occurred, so your doctor may do a simple blood test. Other side effects, including headache, diarrhea, indigestion, and rash, were generally mild. Ask your doctor about Lamisil. Once daily Lamisil tablets. Get your nail infection where it grows.
With Dulcolax laxative, you can relax. It works gently enough for sensitive stomachs, yet provides complete relief. More doctors recommend Dulcolax than any other overnight laxative. Relax. Trust Dulcolax for overnight relief guaranteed.
I had lost the will to shop.
No thrill, no will.
Jerry said that I needed to carpe diem. That's seize the deal.
It's Greek. Vain.
I walked into Big Lots, and there I saw it. This $50 even flow baby monitor for $20. I seized it. I was seizing all day. Greatest day of my life. You gotta grab for the closeout, and then pay, and then leave.
Big Lots. Brand names, closeout prices, happy people.
Now I can carpe diem with the best of them.
The Hyundai Sonata makes more sense than ever. Once again ranked most appealing entry midsize car by J.D. Power and Associates. Not to mention, only Hyundai has America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. Test drive the 2004 Hyundai Sonata starting at just $15,039. And right now, during the Hyundai Win-Win Spring Event, get $1,500 cash back or 0% APR. When your car makes this much sense, you win.
There's word tonight that more American jobs are heading overseas. This time, just a few dozen workers are affected. But these losses are drawing extra attention because of what they symbolize. What those workers made is the stuff of American childhood memories. CBS's Cynthia Bowers gives you the inside story.
For generations, this little red wagon has been a rite of passage.
We didn't have electronic toys back then. It was all things like our little red wagon.
The first set of wheels for millions of American children.
It's very American. It's very Norman Rockwell. It's how we all grew up.
It's an enduring image that looms large from small towns to the big screen.
Wow, a radio flyer!
And for more than 80 years, they rolled out of this factory on Chicago's west side. Not anymore. The company announced this week it is moving its production operations overseas.
Sure, you're disappointed. I wish they could manufacturing here. And I like to know what is the difference between here and China.
The difference is far cheaper production cost. Executives of the family-owned company say this is the only way to keep costs down and stay competitive.
They felt they had to do it. They had no choice. And in order to be competitive, it was either A, take it overseas, or B, take the chance that they won't be competitive and lose their business altogether.
So, like Levi's jeans, you can add Radio Flyer to the list of all American icons that are no longer made in America.
Thank you.
Larry Speska still remembers his first Radio Flyer and sells them in his store today.
The average buyer might be disappointed that they're moving to China for production, but they're still going to buy the wagon.
The company says even though the wagon's trip home will be much longer, once here, the ride will be just like you remember. Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, Chicago.
Narcotics agents said today they've smashed a Canada-based drug ring responsible for 15% of the ecstasy smuggled into the U.S. Agents arrested scores of suspects in 18 U.S. and Canadian cities, and they seized 500,000 ecstasy pills, some of them found hidden in vehicle fuel tanks. Next year on the CBS Evening News, FDR and JFK were liberals and proud of it. So how did the liberal label sink so low in today's politics? We'll give you a look when we come back.
Allergies used to take the fun out of games. Now, I'm Claritin Clear.
Today, I found another level of clear. Claritin Clear.
Claritin Clear means non-drowsy 24-hour relief from your sneezing, runny nose, and itchy eyes.
Up here, I gotta be alert. Claritin relieves my toughest symptoms without putting me in a fog. One pill, 24 hours, and I'm in control of my allergies.
Claritin, non-drowsy 24-hour relief.
There's clear, then there's Claritin Clear.
This is crabgrass. I don't want to see crabgrass in my lawn.
My wife actually hates crabgrass.
Nobody would want this in their lawn. We'd put down Scott's turf builder with Holtz in the early spring.
That's the only thing I ever use. Scott's puts this protective barrier over the lawn.
And it stops the crabgrass from germinating.
See how nice and thick that is?
Feels like the carpet inside my house. Well, I've used the cheap brands. And it's like anything else. You get what you pay for. Steve doesn't have any crabgrass, which makes him a good human being, basically. Turf builder with Holtz. The best defense against crabgrass.
In my line of work, pain was part of the job, but heartburn pain was part of my life until I got help from Prevacid. I'm a pretty tough guy, but that fireball would hit me more often than linebackers. I was in great shape. I changed my diet. I had enough chalky tabs to line a field with. Still, the heartburn came back. My trainer and I thought it might be serious, so I finally took a time out to see my doctor. He broke it down like this. 1, I had acid reflux disease. 2, acid causes pain and can lead to damage. And 3, he prescribed Prevacid because it helps prevent acid.
Heartburn pain and damage is caused by acid backing up into the esophagus. But one Prevacid once a day helps prevent the acid, stops the pain, and allows your body to heal.
Now I'm retired, and with Prevacid daily, my heartburn is too.
Prescription Prevacid has a low occurrence of side effects such as diarrhea, abdominal pain, and nausea. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. Ask your doctor for more information and if Prevacid is right for you. Help prevent the acid. With
the Subaru all-wheel drive-away, starring Subaru Forester, the best small SUV ever crash tested. 1.9 APR for 63 months. Subaru WRX, 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. 750 cashback or 1.9 APR. And Subaru Outback, all-wheel drive ruggedness and car-like ride. Up to $1,500 cashback or 1.9 APR. Get the best deals ever at the Subaru all-wheel drive-away, now through March 31st.
Democratic presidential candidate John Kerry spent part of the day off the campaign trail in a Boston hospital. Kerry had scheduled surgery, what he called a quick fix, to repair a muscle tear in his right shoulder. Kerry will keep his arm in a sling and, doctor's orders, no glad-handing the voters for at least a couple of days. In other news of politics, this was kickoff day for a fledgling small radio network. a beginning effort to create a talk radio outlet for liberals. But it's not called the Liberal Radio Network. They named it, quote, Air America. Why did they leave liberal out of the label? CBS's Jim Axelrod examines the evolution and in some ways the discrediting of a political label.
What might seem like a simple yes or no question.
Are you a liberal?
Let me just...
Wait, are you a liberal?
Please come to the characterization.
Has become for Democrats like asking if they're still beating their wives. There's no good answer.
It suggests to a lot of Americans mushy-headed, spending too much money.
Which might be conservatives' biggest win in the last quarter century, redefining the same badge FDR and JFK wore proudly for decades.
I think a liberal basically is someone who really wants to spend your money, wants to have a bigger government, wants to be more intrusive in your life.
Conservatives had help. Democrats ran landslide losers who seemed phony trying to look mainstream, while Republicans had a man who appeared to personify it.
Their views can only be described by the dreaded L word, liberal, liberal, liberal.
But it was more than that.
If you let me define, I'll say I'm a liberal. Now give me 10 minutes to tell you what it means.
Liberals never understood you don't have 10 minutes to make your point. You have 10 seconds.
It really is a crime. Liberalism is a humanity crime.
In a word, conservatives found a way. Such an effective way, it's still the first place they go today.
Another rich liberal elitist from Massachusetts who claims he's a man of the people. Priceless.
That's fitting, borrowing the tagline from a successful advertising campaign. Because that's what this has been as much as anything else in a country with about as many liberals as conservatives. A triumph of marketing.
It is a branding. Liberal as a brand is tarnished.
Donnie Deutsch knows something about advertising. His $2.7 billion agency handles everyone from Revlon to Mitsubishi to Monster.com. Oh, and he's a Democrat.
I don't think you're right now in this day and age going to ever make the word liberal a positive electable thing. It's about changing the playing field.
But labels are just part of selling something. The bigger question, never mind the package. Do people want the product? Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
Still to come here on the CBS Evening News, flying off the shelves. That's what's happening to the latest in a series of biblical blockbusters. Why is religion selling so well just now? Stay tuned.
Tomorrow, an exclusive first look at the SUV of the future. It gets 40 miles a gallon, and it's all American. We'll take you for a spin on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
A different generation needs a different kind of denture adhesive. C-Bond is a thin, soft wafer with 3 adhesives for all-day hold. No ooze or pasty mess. For a kind of hold and comfort you have to feel to believe. C-Bond, a different generation.
She was beauty, brains, and damp.
You have to help me. I'm afraid I'm gonna get hurt, and I need cash.
You have that insurance, don't you, sweetheart?
What insurance?
There's the rub. I couldn't remember. When it pays you the dough when you're hurt and miss work. Go ask about it. Whatever it's called.
Ask about what?
The Hyundai Sonata makes more sense than ever. Once again ranked most appealing entry midsize car by J.D. Power & Associates. Not to mention, only Hyundai has America's best warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles. Test drive the 2004 Hyundai Sonata starting at just $15,039. And right now, during the Hyundai Win-Win Spring Event, get $1,500 cash back or 0% APR. When your car makes this much sense, you win.
There's something delicious going around. It's these new reclosable bottles of Ensure, a good source of complete balanced nutrition that goes anywhere you do in 5 creamy, rich flavors. Ensure. Drink to your health wherever you go.
That was great, Mom. I saw 5 snakes. I got a fish.
Where you wanna go, do what you wanna do.
There's a different way to treat seasonal allergies. Singulair, the only seasonal allergy medicine that specifically blocks leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. It's a once-a-day chewable tablet that helps relieve a broad range of symptoms for a full 24 hours. It's available for children as young as 2. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Ask your child's doctor about Singulair. Singulair, a different way to treat seasonal allergies.
Swimming, we went canoeing, we did all kinds of fun stuff.
Will Portland police change the way they conduct traffic stops? We'll take you through their training next on KOIN 6 News at 6.
By any measure, the world's all-time best-selling book is the Bible, but this year has seen a new surge of Bible stories in the popular media, notably the movie The Passion of Christ on film, and published today, the fictional Glorious Appearing. As CBS's Mark Strassman reports, this is the latest in a series of novels with a big following among self-described evangelical Christians.
I won't go to sleep tonight till I'm finished, I guarantee you.
It's new and frightening fiction, but not from Stephen King. For one thing, he doesn't sell this well.
It's a series, and actually there's one that builds on the other and on the other. You can't wait for the other.
This is book 12, the final chapter in the Left Behind series. 52 million books sold in the last decade. It's fantasy based on the book of Revelation, about the end of the world and a showdown with the Antichrist. And its message is pure fire and brimstone.
Jesus is coming, and we want you to get ready because we don't want you to be left behind.
By the fifth book in this series, mass retailers had their own revelation. Christian fiction wasn't just for evangelicals, and now the Left Behind authors outsell even John Grisham. Shaken by troubling events, more Americans are soul-searching, especially in their entertainment. While recent interpretations of the Bible have found stunning commercial success, pleasing theologians is another matter. And some of them complain left behind, left out context and humility.
Only God knows who's going to be in the presence of God, and I suspect there are going to be a lot of surprises.
My life and my family's life.
Praise the Lord. Thank you.
But like Mel Gibson, co-authors Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins say their biblical interpretation is literal.
We realize, too, that our message can be offensive and can be divisive because not everybody agrees that Jesus is the way to God. But we feel it's our responsibility to tell what we believe.
In their corner of the bookstore are millions of true believers who see truth in fiction.
Thanks for writing such wonderful books.
Mark Strassman, CBS News, Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Part of our world tonight. Now, here's a look for you at what's coming up later this evening, pretty quickly from CBS News on 48 Hours and 60 Minutes, too. How doctors risk everything for a dying baby and made medical history. Plus, are the trains safe in America? 60 Minutes, too, tonight.
Then on 48 Hours Investigates, Lisa, Sean, Rebecca.
Give me all your money.
Their crimes will shock you. What happened next will shock you even more.
That's what we think is an especially good 60 Minutes, too, at 8, 7 Central, and then 48 Hours Investigates at 10, 9 Central. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. See you again soon on 60 Minutes, too.
For news 24 hours a day, click on cbsnews.com, brought to you in part by Walmart, saving you and your family time and money with everyday low prices.
An SUV that gets 40 miles a gallon? An exclusive first look tomorrow. Experience CBS News.
Next on KOIN 6 News at 6.
We'll check Portland police morale after Sunday's officer-involved shooting, and you'll hear the latest developments in the investigation of James Perez's death.
A settlement in another police-involved shooting today, but this one doesn't involve money. The unusual request by the deceased family.
Coming up, a weekend of cheers, smiles, and tears as Oregon National Guard troops return home.
Now, with Julie Emery and Jeff Gianola, this is KOIN 6 News at 6.
Hello and welcome to Coin 6 News at 6. I'm Mike Donahue in for Jeff Gianola.
And I'm Julie Emery. The deadly Portland police shooting on Sunday is still topping the news. The investigation is far from complete, and it's dividing the police union and the Bureau's leadership, including the chief. We begin our complete coverage with Margie Lynch. Let's talk about the officers, Margie. What are they saying?
Well, Julie, it does appear to be creating some tensions, but we talked to a spokesperson for the police bureau, and he says officers are simply trying to continue to do their job.